here in the New to You Speakers Northern Workshop. We have probably a fairly short video for you today, but it's going to be a before and after video. And from the perspective of the speakers and the company. This is a pair of Altec Lansing Design 5s. Altec Lansing is a company, has a very long, proud history, was proud. I'm not sure how proud it is today, and that's reflected in the company and it's reflected in these speakers. So I want to take a few minutes and go through the before and after of a pair that I just picked up at a recent estate sale. Here's the before on this side, and you'll notice something right away when I kind of turn them. Painted brown grill. I'll show you, do some close-ups in a minute. All pilling. Bad job painting. Got paint on the grill cloth. And here's the after. And I'm going to talk about how we strip the paint. Why you shouldn't paint your speakers, probably. Here's a slab of paint I actually tore off of this one. And I guess I'm glad the guy did a poor job of painting them, because that made it easy for me to bring them back. And then we just recovered the grills, and after that they're back in great order. So we'll go through what we've done to the speakers, and then we'll switch over to the computer, and we'll talk a little bit about the history of Altec Lansing, what happened, why it happened, and it's a common story with many of the famous names of the past. The Altec Lansing name is still around, but obviously the company is not involved in hi-fi speaker design anymore, or pro audio speaker design, or theater speakers, or any of that kind of thing anymore, although a lot of their gear is still in business. So a before and after, a little bit on the speakers and a little bit on the company. Let's have a closer look. Okay, in the spirit of a before and after, let's take a look at the before case. Here you can see 2 coats of white, fortunately latex paint. We've got the mount with the 2 twin angled tweeters, and a little slab of paint there. They did mask off the baffle, which helped us quite a bit, but they still ended up getting paint on the grill. Here you can see the grill cloth has some pilling to it. Yeah, could you cut and shave some of those off? Yeah, probably, but I think this is a better approach. The badges were in nice shape, so we'll save those. And it's really then just a question of getting the paint off, recovering. I will actually have not checked the crossover yet, so I still need to do that. On the after, let's take a look at that so you can see a little bit more how that turned out. Grill, we just pulled off the old cloth, put on some inexpensive cloth, set that down. This one had paint on it on the tweeter mount, so we cleaned that off, cleaned off all the paint on the front edge, this inside lip, which really wasn't that hard. Here we've got you can see the sides. There were a couple little paint drips on the back here. This set was made in February of 1981. Binding post. And, I was afraid when I went to take all the paint off that I would get a surprise that the condition was not good, that maybe they were scratched up, and it turns out they were not. So the person just wanted to have a style change, and they got it. And then they painted them again over the years, and it probably helped protect the vinyl. So good for us, I guess. Let's get in here and show you what we've done. I just took a putty knife and just kind of worked the corner loose. Not much to it. And once you get the corner started, you can kind of see working it down, slicing action, and then it starts to peel. And you want to try to keep the edge as long as you can. So I lost that edge there. That's it. That's all there is to it. And you know, that's a fairly small piece. And you kind of work this corner, get it started. You can pull off another strip. So it's better to try to get a longer section going, because then you can keep that longer section. There we go. That's all there is to it. So you can see that, and vinyl on this one looks to be in good shape, and that top lip for the upper surface has now been exposed. You work the putty knife under there till you can grab it. And you know, the vinyl, the adhesive and the vinyl outgasses over the years, and that outgassing I think also helps prevent good adhesion of the paint. Latex paint, no primer, they didn't scuff up the vinyl, so as a result we get the benefit. On the back edge here now, there's going to be a little more cleanup involved. The other one took me about an hour to do the whole thing, get it all off. And then I had to come along and just do some scraping, get some of this off. I did run a little bit of stain along the particle board on the backside edges to get that a little more uniform on the backside. The inside peels is just as well. Fortunately, the person must have used some tape, and that helped us get this paint off the corners, out of the corners, and off this rolled edge on the case. So it comes right off. So I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but you know, you can get some pretty big sections. With a fairly big piece I took off the other one. It's just time. It's tedious, but you can get it done. And then a cleanup with alcohol, acetone. That took off any residual adhesive, and you know, just touch up any spots where the vinyl gets dinged or nicked. That's where we use the Sharpies and sometimes little paint pens, and that's all there's to it. The one on the spot on the front, I suspect a little, maybe acetone will probably take that right off.
Eventually.
All right, it's 15 minutes later. I think you get the idea. We've pulled all the bulk material off, and now there's just, you know, we use a little X-Acto knife or fingernail, this credit card sometime. We'll clean all this off. We got to do a little scraping on this backside because here the paint has entered the particle board, as we mentioned. So we'll clean that up and wipe this off. We'll get the paint off of these grill attachment balls. That'll just scrape off. Actually, this one broke, so we've got to replace that one. Get this off, and we'll move on. I think we'll just come back when it's done. There's really not too much else to see. Maybe I'll show it to you after I do the final clean off. We've knocked it out now. We've completed all the paint removal, got off all the little chips and done the cleanups and touched up the back appropriately. And so the before and after is now complete on these. Let's take a look now at the before and after of Altec Lansing. As you know, we like to take a look at the company history as we go through our different speaker videos. And when I started investigating this Altec Lansing Design 5, I learned something interesting, and that is that it has this alternate name called the Atlantic, and most of the technical information that's out there is with the Atlantic version. I haven't totally figured out the timing on this, but I believe what happened was they introduced this speaker in 1978. You can find it as the Atlantic, and it's got this branding up here. And a couple years later, and by the way, the full specs on the Atlantic are here, and that's what I've used to define the specifications of our version. And so there's some nice history there on that. But the couple years later, I think it was rebranded as this Design 5. Here's the branding for it. That's it. That's the whole branding, is this badge down here. They got rid of the Atlantic term up here above the tweeters, and they just added that Design 5. Everything else seems to be the same. So let's start with Altec Lansing's history. This is their website and what they say about the history. Now, you need to understand that this company has been through a lot of buying and selling over the years, and it really isn't the same company that it once was. So if you take a look at the history here, they show it going back to 1927, and they say that some engineers at Western Electric developed the technology for sound on motion pictures, which I believe is true. And they claim that what happened was that some people formed the company Altec Lansing. Well, I think there's a little bit more to the story, which we'll find. And at that time, when those engineers left, they created a company called Altec Services Company. And Lansing came in here at 1941. James B. Lansing, I think that's a famous name some of you may recognize, JBL, James B. Lansing. His company was going bankrupt, and he was an audio engineer, and so Altec Services bought his company and renamed it Altec Lansing. This is really where the company took off, and they created some famous microphones. They really heavily got into, and this kind of goes along with the idea of movie theaters, right? Events, theaters, stage shows, Broadway, etc. And they created, and that also goes for sound, pro audio in music studios, music production. And here you can see they note that their equipment was used at Abbey Road and at Woodstock, and I believe that is correct. Then we start seeing, in this photo, we see some of the things that they're very famous for. So let's jump out of their history and take a look at some other history according to good old Wikipedia. So if we start at the Wikipedia page on Altec Lansing, it talks about many of the same things that are on their website. The engineers at Western Electric, Altec Services purchased Lansing Manufacturing, and this is when they developed the horn loudspeaker. And so just as a reminder, here's what a typical horn loudspeaker looks like. I think most of you have seen that before. And in particular, the multicellular horns. So this type of horn, and I actually have one in my inventory. I've got an old Realistic that's got a multicellular horn tweeter. And the thing about these is they're loud, right? You get a lot of volume. They're multi-directional. So, you know, tweeters tend to be a little directional. So the idea of a multi-directional tweeter was great for public address systems and stadiums and that kind of thing. And so that's why they branched out in that direction. There's a couple of interesting history points here at the Altec Lansing Heritage page on audioheritage.org. There's a note here on who the guys are. So middle row, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. If we blow that photo up, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So this is Alvis Ward right here, the gentleman who really decided to start his own company called Altec Services. A couple of his right-hand men, and then here's James Lansing, the famous JBL. Now he left not too long after the company was formed. He started his own audio company, JBL, and that has got a long and current history as well. A couple other things we can look at here. Here's a picture of Alvis Ward, the founder. This looks like at the Lansing 20th anniversary party, so that would have been around the mid-50s probably. And so there's just a little bit more history. And here's an example of the kind of system that they would install in movie theaters, right? These would actually go behind the screen and project through the screens, and would give everybody in the theaters an immersive sound experience, which was a big deal when going to the talking pictures. So if we jump back to, and as time went on, there's more history. The 80s were pretty much the end of the road, and then they went bankrupt. They got bought by and sold by multiple companies over time. Here's some of the last home theater style speakers that they created. Then sold to Sparkomatic. I think most of you remember Altec Lansing speakers when PCs first came out, late 80s, early 90s. That was a big deal. Then they got into the business kept getting smaller and smaller. Here I see that Altec Lansing in 2005 was sold to Plantronics for $166 million. And then you go down a few more pages, and by 2009, it was then sold to an equity company for $18 million. So Plantronics lost their shirt on that deal, and now it's owned by this company, Infinity Group, and they bought it for about $18 million. And and you can see Infinity Group specializes in acquiring and turning around struggling or bankrupt consumer brands. And that's really what it is. It's just a brand at this point. I think we can see that if we jump back to the Altec Lansing current homepage and scroll through here and see what they're offering. Headphones, Bluetooth speakers, there's portable wireless, and they're proud that they're all in the press here. I guess that's good. But I think I saw a boombox style party speaker in here as well. But I think it's fair to say that this has just become a lifestyle brand. I would guess that there's no engineers working on any of this stuff, and they're just basically shopping the OEM market for products that they can put their name on. So what was a pure audio driven company in the before stage is now something definitely different than that in the after state. So just a quick rundown. Hope you enjoyed it. There's other videos out there on YouTube about the history. The one from Rossi Audio is quite interesting because he bashes them pretty good, so you may want to take a look at that. Thanks a lot. I hope you enjoyed this video about little before and after with Altec Lansing, and both with the speakers, a before and after, and the company before and after. Thanks a lot. Bye.